What's up, guys? Welcome to another exciting episode of Between the Lines. Today, we're going to go over a little bit of everything from mentality, visualization, to recruiting, NIL, the game of softball as a whole. And I do believe, Sam, you got a friend joining us, right?
Yeah, so we're going to have Bruni joining us today. We're all super excited about it. We've been talking about it for a week or so. We can't wait to get her on.
Yeah, but I think Corey's getting ready to call her up right now on Skype, so give us about 20 seconds, and we'll be back.
Okay, so we kind of wanted to talk a lot about recruiting and basically like advice and things like that. But before then, we want to get like a little introduction from you on kind of like how you started playing softball and where you're at now, like with the Texas Smoke, I believe, right?
Correct. Yes, we are the Texas Smoke. Also, is this your first podcast?
This is our third one. Yes, this is the first one we've ever done before. Yeah.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all really excited. So. Yeah. When I told Corey, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I watch all of her videos," so we're pumped.
Well, thank you for supporting me, and thank you for having me. I'm excited that we finally get to connect, not via text.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
I currently am playing for the Texas Smoke, and I will be playing again next summer, so it's going to look a little different. I don't think I can announce anything yet for live, but we are having some updates and changes within our team and our leagues, so that's kind of exciting. But yeah, in the off season, I just do content. I work with the companies that I work with. I give lessons to a select amount of people. I don't really do them too much anymore, but I do offer virtual lessons through, I have programs out within the Camwood Elite app where it's like myself and a couple other professional players who also write programs based upon their specific position and skill. And we basically they have 24/7 access to us as coaches, which is really cool, through the app. So they can send progress videos, questions, and we have it kind of right at the fingertips to answer, send videos back, take their videos that they send us, slow it down, give them pointers. So it's really cool. It's really nice being able to coach girls that aren't just specifically close to me and where I live. So
what was the app again?
It's called Camwood. It's the Camwood Elite app, but I think if you just type in Camwood on the App Store, it comes up.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's a great platform, and I mean, you pay as much for the entire month as you would with 1 hour with a professional coach. So I think, if I had that as a young athlete, I would have been all over that because it's slapping, hitting, catching, pitching, throwing program, mentality, and strength and conditioning, and you have access to all of those coaches.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That was awesome.
That's very
it's
cool.
Awesome.
So when did you start playing competitive softball?
I started playing softball at the age of 4, but that's obviously not competitive anymore. But
depends on who you're talking to.
That's true. I mean, if you got Bucket Dad over there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Everything's competitive.
That's right.
Everything. So I was born in Pennsylvania, and then my family moved to Georgia really short after. So I think I was 4 when I moved down to Georgia, and I'm from Pennsylvania. And in Georgia, down south, softball is a lot bigger. So, I kind of got right into it, and I think the difference of playing in Georgia and playing in Pennsylvania is so different because in Pennsylvania there's cold. Georgia it's pretty warm almost year round. There's some change of weather, but you're able to practice longer. So we moved back to Pennsylvania when I was in 4th grade, I believe. So that was a big change, I would say, definitely in competition wise and travel organization. But yeah, I've played ever since I was 4. And up until now, which I'm turning 27 in January, so
I like it. Yeah,
lots of softball experience.
Right. How did you? And this is kind of the main thing that I really wanted to address today. How was the recruiting process for you? I know it's changed a lot for young athletes now, But what did you do to get recruited?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do love this question because I do get it a lot being from up north, and I went to a Division I school down south. So I honestly, I don't know if you can resonate with this, but I didn't even really think I wasn't so into the thought process of getting recruited, honestly, maybe until ninth or 10th grade. I never even thought about the fact of playing in college. I just played, and I'm very thankful for my parents for that, because I think if I would have thought about it, some of these girls are in 6th, 7th grade, thinking about the recruiting process. I would have not been the athlete that got me to where I am today. Because I was a freak athlete. Literally nobody in my town ever thought I could even play Division I, which is funny now saying it, making it to the highest level. I was just an out of control, athlete in general. Every sport I played, I just looked like who is that deer running around? I was just, it was not. They were like, can she no, does she know how to control her left and right arm? No, it was wild. But I would make stuff happen. So I think that was the cool part of it, of the potential was there. And it was if she could just hone in on those skills, she could be really great.
Right.
And I think the best thing about it was I never listened to people telling me where I can and can't go. I just was myself. And that's kind of the main mantra of, you might see around my stuff, is be you. Is I was literally just okay, be the athlete, play hard, play fast, do your thing. And that catches eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're being timid and you're oh my God, I have to be perfect at this clinic that I go to, or, you're never going to excel in what you do best. And even if you mess up, who cares? The best players in the MLB and pro softball, we all make mistakes. We all look stupid sometimes. But on the recruiting aspect of it, I think when I started kind of realizing that I wanted to play in college, and I had the ability to not only play in college but play at a high level, was I started going to those college not clinic, what are they called? It was called Extreme Dimensions Camp. There's one, this is the specific one I went to out in Ewing, New Jersey. I don't know if you've heard of that. But
I lived in New Jersey for a bit, but I haven't heard of did you say Ewing?
Ewing.
Ewing. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
W-I-N-G, I believe.
It sounds familiar.
But they host a camp, and it's with, have you heard of The Rock?
Say that again?
It's The Rock, it's a travel organization.
I thought we were talking about Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I was like, of course I've heard of The Rock.
Not that guy.
No.
No.
John was about to lose it. He was like, you met The Rock? Anyways,
I wish. Honestly, we could try to get him on this podcast.
Yeah,
let's do it.
We should message him.
But no, there's a travel organization up Pennsylvania, Jersey area called The Rock, and they kind of host the tournament. But basically, a lot of college coaches come to it, so it's a showcase for a bunch of different colleges. So they all come to this one. It's not just one specific college. And that's the first couple ones I started to go to getting into the recruiting process, because I was yeah, sure, playing college is fun. I could definitely do that. And then when I started to go to these showcase tournaments where it was specifically where a lot of colleges were at, I was okay, I want to play in college, definitely. And so the very first one that I went to, again, this is actually kind of funny. We're kind of integrating stories, but as you know, I'm a left-handed hitter and a slapper.
Yep.
So during this very first showcase tournament, I was a right-handed hitter in 9th grade. I was a right-handed hitter all the way up until 9th grade. And then I would switch around to the left side to drop a bunt because I was so fast. I think at that time, my home to first was 2.5, 2.6, because I was just a little twig.
Yeah.
But these coaches, and specifically my college coach, Ken Erickson, who also at the time was the Team USA coach, he was there in his USF stuff, and little me, I didn't even pay attention. I didn't really have the idols of softball. Obviously I knew Jenny Finch. I just never looked. I was never putting people on pedestals. So I was this is a game, I play it, I'm good at it, I love it, type of thing.
Right.
I just always had that mentality and tried to. It helped me because I always felt like I belonged on the field that I was at. I never felt like there was a room that I didn't belong in, even though I was way out of my league. Sometimes I was like, crazy, like I said. So Ken Erickson comes up to me, and this is after I've dropped like 3 bunts just on the left side, and then he would see me warming up on the right-hand side to swing. And he pulls me over. I think there was also a couple other college coaches. And the cool part about this showcase tournament, or not tournament, camp, clinic, was that the college coaches were running the different, like we were scrimmaging and they were running different teams.
Right, so
it
they
was
could
really
kind
cool
of give
'cause
you
got
input
that.
and talk to you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So they pulled me aside, and Ken was like, so Bruni, like, what do you think your biggest advantage is as a player? And little 5'6", probably like 120-pound high schooler, I'm like, crossed arm, I said, power. After I just dropped 3 bunts, like, girl, what are you talking about? The confidence is there, okay? He was like, absolutely not, like, speed. I was like,
awesome.
that too, I am really fast, But he was like, why aren't you just on the left side? Why don't you look into becoming like a slapper? Have you heard of that? And that's kind of like how I got into slapping is him, and then my slapping coach, who you might have seen in some of my videos, Jerry Morrow.
I think I've seen him in your videos.
Yeah, he is awesome. I love him. So he's the one that really taught me how to slap. So I came home and I was like fully into it because I said, if there was a chance that I was going to play Division I, it's for sure on my speed and being able to use the field and have that advantage. So I basically went to slapping lessons like twice a week, switched over. It was so awkward in the first couple months, obviously, but very soon after, I couldn't even swing right-handed anymore, and that's kind of like what started that journey of me like going to the left side and being able to be recruited from that. So I would say I kind of probably veered off from the question, but the recruiting process in general for me started my like freshman year going into my sophomore year of high school, and I didn't even commit until probably end of my junior year, which is I guess like a little on the later side, but I had been going to a lot of clinics, camps, and then I guess advice while we're here is I always tell this to my girls and teams that I coach or at clinics and stuff. I would say put a list together of your top, let's say 5 schools. Okay, so you want to have I always say 2 to 3, but again, like maybe 1 or 2 of there's like your dream schools. So you don't really necessarily know if you could play here, but this is like a school that you're like, oh my God, I would love to go to school here for the academics, and I would love to be on the softball team. So boom, dream school. Then you got that middle ground, which is like the realistic. Okay, so this is like, hey, I'm gonna have to work my butt off to be in this program, but I know that I have a chance to not only I definitely can get into school here, but I can play softball here. And again, that's based on your own confidence, work ethic, if you want to play at that specific level, because Division I, II, and III, like you have to look at it, that's a job, right? More on the side of if you're not so much into the grind of softball and that's really your life, I wouldn't recommend going to a D1 because it really is your entire life there for those 4 or 5 years. So that's like your realistic schools. And then the last would be your safe schools. So these are schools you're like, I can walk on, I can be part of that starting 9. And I wouldn't mind also, I wouldn't mind going to the school. I would love it. But I know that I could walk on and play. So that's like the best advice I was given in terms of recruiting process and being able to write the list out. Then once you do that, now you can kind of like hunker down on it, email the coaches, find out when their clinics and camps are, because once you have those, you want to just get in front of their eyes. I'm also speaking on the fact that I graduated high school in 2016, so I know there's a lot of updated rules, and the fact that like Twitter and social media plays such a big role now in getting in front of eyes, right? So it could be a little different, but I'm speaking on my experience and kind of like what helped me. I remember stressing a little bit about the process, but at the end of the day, I did everything I could up until the fact that I went to a USF camp with a broken wrist and was throwing from the outfield with a broken wrist because I wanted to go to that school so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I broke it playing basketball, and then I never played basketball again. But
Like done with that.
yeah, I was like, this is gonna ruin my softball career.
I do
yeah,
think
no,
it's.
like,
I do think it's crazy
Go ahead,
though.
sorry,
Like
I'm
no,
like on a roll.
no, you're
No,
good.
you're good.
No, I do think it's crazy though. Like you were saying, like things are updated. Like I do all the recruiting for our team, and then a couple of the girls that we work with. But like I remember, the most important thing when I played baseball was like the integrity of the game, like just loving the game, right? Like nobody walked out on a field and expected to go D1. Nobody walked out. Like we were just there to play a game that we all loved, and every now and then you were fortunate enough to see somebody show up to watch you play, you know? And like now it's more like you got to start building an online presence as a 7th grader, and as an 8th grader you better have a skills video out there. Then as a freshman, an updated skills video to make sure that you're actually like improving and growing. And then you sit around and you wait your sophomore year, and hopefully by the time you're a junior somebody contacts you. You know, so like I do think it's actually really crazy how much the game has changed in all the recruiting aspects. Because like I remember being an 8th grader, and I went to school with like Jordan Larson. She was committed by the time that she was a sophomore. You know, and like now you can't do that anymore. You can't even talk to the school until you're going in. I think it's like September 1st of your junior year. So
It feels a lot more stressful.
It's a ton more stressful, and like I feel like that's why you get these kids now who they kind of stray away from the fact that they love the game, and that's why they're playing it, and they're like, well shit, I gotta hurry up and get a scholarship, you know? So those last 2 years are really, really stressful for them.
I remember being like under the impression when I was in high school of like, because at that time like nobody really had the recruiting conversation that frequently, and I just remember thinking like one day a college coach was just gonna call me up and say, hey, we need you. Like I just remember like that's what was supposed to happen. Or I would just get a random letter. Like I don't remember anybody ever telling me like, hey, you have to go do all these things. And now it seems like there's this massive checklist of just things you have to do to be recruited.
Even like you talked a little bit on like the exposure camps and stuff like that. But like I don't know, you said you coach a team now?
Well, like I'm just saying with lessons.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
like
like
that.
like the Top Gun, the Triple Crown, the PGF, the NSFA, like all these tournaments are so freaking insane. Like Triple Crown, like you show up. I remember we were at the Maverick in Kansas City, and we walked in with like every D1 coach known to man. We all walked through the door at the same time, and just like the amount of pressure that would put on the kids. You know?
No joke. One of our pitchers overthrew a ball, and I was catching for it, and I turned around, and the Creighton coach was behind me. He's like, "Oh, here you go." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know you were there."
We
Awesome.
ended up playing a team called the Northwest Grapettes, and it was actually a really good game. We were tied up 2-2. We ended up losing 3-2. But I remember that game was tied for like 3 or 4 innings. And each inning that we looked at the backstop, there was like 2 or 3 more coaches, or, you know, like we had Tennessee, Catherine Weekly was there, like Mike White was walking around somewhere, not him, but his assistant coach was walking around somewhere. And it was just insane. So like all the pressure that comes along with like today's world of recruiting, I think is so nuts to me. So.
It definitely is, yeah, I would say, and it's tough because, you know, you can't get away from the social media aspect. These kids are all on social media. They're all seeing all this stuff. And I think the biggest thing is that you got to teach the discipline of the tunnel vision, right? So I never compared myself up until you're at those tournaments and camps when you're seeing some coaches there, and now you get a little bit of like, oh my God, I have to get on base, or I have to do this. And it's not about that. You don't think that they see people go for 4 that they're recruiting? Like that happens. That's literally the game. I think going back to what the point you made on skills videos too, like I think we paid someone like a couple $100 to do a skills video. Make your own. Grab your iPhone, make your own. You don't need to pay someone to do it. They literally need to see, can you catch a ball? Can you throw a ball? They will be able to watch a player and see if they have the potential of the type of player that they're looking to recruit.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Like a crazy video.
Well, it would have been
I won't name drop the company that does it, but it's
it was like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Four-letter word, or 4 letters for the company name. But they charge like $3,200 for a skills video. And like I remember when we got started in instruction, the whole reason why I started doing it was because like high school coaches don't really help you,
Well, and
which is insane to me. Like you
Yeah.
would think like you're with this kid 7 days a week for 8 months out of the year, like you should be helping them achieve their goals, but they didn't. So I actually called out to a couple of like people I was connected to just locally in Nebraska, talked to some of the athletic administrators, and they were like, yeah, man, like we use all the free platforms because not every kid can afford to pay $3,000, and we just want to see if they can throw a ball, if they can hit a ball. So I started putting together all their skills videos and recruiting videos and profiles, but yeah, on a free platform, like I utilize Field Level. I think I'm connected to 600 some oddball colleges across the country, and there's
That's great.
absolutely nothing that I have to do other than just press a button to get them sent out, you know? So
Yeah. Because half the time they don't, like, let's say you're getting them from these companies you're paying them for and emailing it, they don't watch more than 10 seconds of it, like
right.
if that, if that. And I know that from coaches that I've talked to. And again, the biggest thing is getting in front of their eyes. Are you a personable person as well? Because I remember talking to my college coach once I was getting recruited, and he was always like, I knew you were going to be, I didn't know too much about if you were going to develop the way I wanted to. You were a freak athlete, but like you were a good person. And not only do we want to, you know, get athletes here, but we want to get good people, personal people, those who know how to have a conversation. And that's also a huge problem, I think, in these younger generations is they can't talk. They can't get in front of someone and shake a hand. And it's like,
Well, that's social
dude,
media
that was how to
again,
get
you
that,
know?
you know?
Yeah.
We were just having the conversation about being stuck behind their phones and just on their phones instead of going out and playing. Like John and I, when we were kids, all summer long, we just had a baseball in our hand. Like it's just such a different time now.
Yeah,
It's such a different time. And it's so hard. It's like there's so many pros, but there's so many cons, especially when they're developing and growing. And it's such an important time in their life. And that's like the biggest thing. Every girl that I coach or every clinic that I have, like I always say, if you guys are trying to get recruited and you want to go to a school and you're going to their clinic, I don't care if it's the last thing that you do or the first thing that you do, but if you're emailing to go to that school and you're like, hey, I'm coming to this clinic, yada, yada, yada. If you don't go up personally to an assistant coach or the head coach, put your hand out, and I feel every single one of their handshakes. I'm like, you need to say, hi, my name is Bruni. I emailed you. I want you to know that email came from me, not my parents, right? Like, I reached out to you. I'm so interested in this your academic program, whatever it is, and I would love to be a part of this softball program. I really enjoyed today's camp. Do you have any advice for me as someone who's trying to get recruited by you? Boom. Simple sentence. I bet you that coach is going to lock your name in their head because you went up, took the time to shake their hand, introduce your face to the name, and then they're going to go through their email and they're going to see what you have sent them. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's you said good people. Like Sam and I, when we first started coaching, that was kind of like our mantra was like good people make great athletes. It's really hard to make somebody a good teammate, but if you're a good person, you're going to be a great teammate, you know? So like that we definitely line up on. And then the coaching thing, like we have 2 players in our 18s that are being recruited by a D1 school. And I remember one of their parents sent me a picture of both of them walking up. They were there for like maybe 3 minutes at their camp. They found the head coach, they found the assistant coach, they walked right up to him in their bright blue jerseys and shook hands, and they sent me a picture like, hey man, this is pretty cool. Like, when did this happen? I never would have guessed that they would do something like this. And I'm like, well, they're good kids, you know?
I love that.
So, but yeah, no, it's...
Good kids and they have good mentors.
I feel like a lot of kids also don't understand too, like all the showcase tournaments and like every tournament now is the World Series of the weekend, you know? So it feels way more important than it really is, but I feel like I try to preach to our 18s, they're not there to watch you play. They came because they know you can play. They're there to watch you fail. You know, like they want to see you strike out and go back to the dugout. They want to see your body language, how you interact with your teammates after you strike out. They want to see what type of teammate you're going to be. At the end of the game, are you going to get pissed off at mom and dad and say, hey, carry my shit? Or are you going to take it on your own? You know, like all that stuff, like at the end of the day, you're an investment to this university, and they don't want to invest money without a return, and you are the return. So I feel like, you know, just having that solidification from somebody else who's actually lived that life and kind of able to say like, hey, yeah, man, like for sure, that's exactly what they're looking for. That's pretty neat.
I don't know
So
if
true.
this like resonates with you at all, but do you have any advice for maybe somebody who goes to a camp and they're really interested in a college, but that college kind of denies them or says, hey, like, I don't think you're the right fit? Do you have any advice for a situation like that? Just like a
I
college
would
not being
say-
interested.
Yeah, no, I would say honestly, it's going to be hard for them to conceptualize this at the beginning and really take that. But you don't want. It's the same thing with friends. You don't want to be friends with anyone who doesn't want to be friends with you. You know, so if you're going to want to go to a college that, hey, you're probably just going to go there and sit the bench all 4 or 5 years, but do you really want to be there in the first place? So, I think if the dream is to play softball and not just, hey, I really just want to go to the school and this is the dream school academically, I think, you move on. Like that's life. I think the advice I would give is really just try to understand, at the end of the day, it's not personal, it's a business. Like you said, the investment of the athlete. And you want to find a fit that not only are you going to be happy, you're not going to be miserable those 4 to 5 years, because I've had teammates that not only have transferred out, but coming into the college knowing, hey, I don't really have a chance to play, but I just really wanted to play for USF because it was the highest D1 on my list or whatever, and then they end up leaving in a year and a half because they're not getting any playing time, they're not enjoying the process. And I think that comes down to a self-reflection of, is this something you'll be so happy no matter what, cheering on your teammates, sitting on the bench, going to practice 4 hours a day, lifting at 5 a.m. and still not playing? Or do you want to go somewhere where you have that ability to compete and all the time and effort that you're putting in is going to pay off in the way you want it to?
Right.
Because I know for me personally, if I was told by school I have no chance of playing, like, hey, we already have our roster booked, this, and this, I wouldn't take that personally. I'd say, okay, that's fine, because I'm a competitor. I know I would pull my hair out if I sat on the bench for 4 or 5 years straight.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. But I don't know if that answers your question on advice.
No,
but
yeah,
I think the
it
more
does.
that I've grown, if it's not the right fit on both ends, it's not the right fit. And there's going to be a better blessing down the line that maybe that wasn't your plan, but at the end of it, you're going to be like, I never thought I would be this happy.
Well, especially in the era of the transfer portal, like every opportunity is an opportunity, right? So like, even if you are a JUCO level player, like you still have access to the same training aids, the same instruction, the same, like the D1 or bust mentality is kind of old,
Yes.
Back when I was growing up, like you wanted to go D1 because they had the best facilities. They had but now there's a JUCO school that's less than 2 hours away that honestly has better facilities and instruction than any school in state has here. So I feel like, if you really love the game, you go with the game. You don't just go sit and watch other people play the game you love,
Well, I think even
100%.
like on the D1 mentality, I think a lot of kids really want to go D1 because they see
To say
TikTok.
they went D1.
Well, that and like they see the girls on TikTok pulling out the shoe boxes and look at this shirt and then look at the next one and then look I feel like that is really the big thing that kids are like, wow, look at all those things that they got. That's so cool. I want that.
Well,
When they're not really thinking about
But I
it's
can
not for
tell
the love
you,
of the
when
game.
I look back, I would say when I look back, I don't remember all of the gear that I got. Half of it, it's all USF colors anyways, I'm not wearing green every day. But at the same time, I look back, I'm thinking about all of the wins I had with my team. I'm thinking about, championships that we win. I'm thinking about the loft, the crying on the bus ride, but with my girls, I'm thinking about the locker room times. You're not thinking about the stuff. I don't even think about necessarily the personal achievements that I had. That's not what comes to mind first. I think the biggest thing is the experience and the people that you're with in the game. Obviously,
100%.
second, you'll start to think about, remember that really cool play I had, or, I had that walk off this game, and that's what you remember. You don't remember the gear and the stuff that people hype up on TikTok and stuff. You have to remember 90% of social media is fake news.
It's funny.
Hey, that's so true because my homepage is other than my regular videos, but
Well, I've noticed a lot of clubs are starting to do that too. I saw a post the other day, volleyball club had like literally
Like a gear hole?
Well, yeah, where they set up like Nebraska does, where they had the red and white Adidas lined up for the like, and this is like 8U volleyball. You know what I mean?
Speaking
great.
of like all the changes and everything like that, though, your brand as an athlete, right? Like, would you have ever imagined in 2016, when softball wasn't as big as it is currently, that you would have had all the same opportunities that you currently have today?
No. And also on that point, I never even, like, the fact I'm sitting here with you guys here today, and it's because of connecting through social media channels, blows my mind. I never even thought this would be my career. I was in nursing school after I graduated from college. So 5 years I went to USF because I had the COVID year since I was a COVID senior.
Oh, okay.
Then I went to nursing school for 2 years. I graduated in 23 from Thomas Jefferson University in Philly. And I got called to play professionally my first summer, so it's 2 summers ago now. Took my boards, my NCLEX during season, passed it. So I'm a certified nurse in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm an RN.
Nice.
And I haven't really used that degree just yet. I don't know, probably maybe use in the future, but right now with everything going on with being able to still play, growing the social channels, not only on the softball aspect, but also a fitness aspect. Like, I'm just loving doing that. So it's so crazy. Like, I never would have thought
And
the
so
self-branding of that could open up so many doors.
you partnered with Franklin and Camwood. Do you have any other partnerships?
So I'm basically an employee with Camwood. I work on that, growing the softball side.
Okay.
And then sponsor-wise, like who I work with, Franklin for batting gloves and protective gear. I have Nakona for my
yes,
actual.
that glove is so cool.
Love Nakona. Yeah, thank you. They're seriously. I've never really used them until I started working with them. And I was like, oh my gosh, this leather is insane.
That's very cool.
So Nakona, I have my own grips. Actually, I have a whole new box of them because I had to wrap on my back. But I have my own grip line with, oh, you got to see it with the boot grips.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, we actually have a couple of those on our bats. We love them.
Yeah, I'll have to send you all.
They're so awesome. I love they have
I love
they
them.
feel like they're kind of like padded.
Yes,
I love them.
They're
They're
really
so
nice.
nice.
They don't tear too, which is
Yeah,
so
they're
nice.
super
And
nice.
We're coming out with some new designs and a new feel as well for people who like kind of that traditional grip.
Okay. So what I was going to say is like back on the kind of the topic that we were talking about earlier about never thinking that you would be playing professional softball or be in the position that you're in today. How awesome is it to like have all these sponsorships and have the presence you do have on social media and the ability to kind of connect with the youth that you are right now?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a blessing, and it's so funny because I remember like being in nursing school was like my first semester, or I think I started my page in my second semester, but during the first semester I ended up getting a job in the cardiac ICU because I was a tech throughout nursing school. And on top of that, I was giving lessons and everything, and I just felt this like hole in my heart because I was like, I'm watching these girls play professionally. I'm like, I can play with these girls. Like, what the heck? And it's just the opportunity for getting drafted. So, it's not super high. And so then I started just making the content, and that kind of like was filling my cup of softball and kept me around the game. I just kept training and everything and stayed in shape for those 2 years to be able to come back and play professionally. And then again, like with the youth and stuff, yeah, like you're around these girls, you get it too because you coach. Like it really inspires you to like be better and also create a path for them. Like that's the whole reason I'm playing. I'm not making MLB money playing softball, right? Like it's something I do on the side. Like my full-time job is what I'm doing here with you guys and my brand stuff. Like if I didn't have this, I'd be working as a nurse right now in the off season and maybe not even really getting to train and be able to play throughout the summertime. But I play for these young girls that hopefully when they're my age, they have a path after college, because how heartbreaking is it hanging up the cleats and seeing all these pro baseball players getting to play till they're like 35, 36, and you're like, what the heck? You don't even peak of your strength until you're 26, 27. Like the player that I am now, like even in college, I thought it was like, dang, my junior years when I had like my pop-off season and really like honed in on my skill and everything, but I'm 20 times the better player than I was my junior year of college, you know? So that's really who I play for. And I'm very blessed, and it's all God's plan, right? Like I never thought I would be brought back to the game, but it's that timing. And now I have the backup plan for nursing if social media were to ever just poof and leave, but it's always nice to have the backup plan. But yeah, I'm definitely blessed to be able to keep sharing my knowledge, my passion for softball, and having it leak into other aspects of my life, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just, you know, you're fitness, you do a lot of fitness stuff too. Like that's something that I've always wanted to do, is share that as well. And now I'm able to have the platform to start doing that. So I'm doing a lot with my YouTube and like sharing workouts and that. So that's like more to come. And building,
I love a lot of the workout stuff that you share. Like I like a lot of the like just different. I think there was like a hip mobility or something, just different stuff like that, where it's not like basic workouts. It's more towards sports or like softball. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Skill specific.
yeah, there we go.
That's I get skill, Well, because you get it as an athlete, like it's not just like strength training for specific guys and muscles. Like a lot of times people don't see the back end work of what me now as a 26, 27-year-old needs to do to be able to continue to play at this age. Like it's not just show up at the gym and leave. It's show up at the gym, get my pre-mobility workout in, get the workout in, get the recovery in. And it's nutrition too. On top of that, there's so many aspects that go into being a professional athlete, but also just girls who are athletes now. Like, yeah, your body's younger, it can handle different things, but as you get to college, you want to start then. You want to start the stretching routine before that, because you don't want to be feeling like you're 75 when you're only 23. You
right,
know?
100%.
So,
I do think, like you were talking earlier about how there's some exciting stuff going on within the professional world right now that you can't really talk about. But then you'd also mentioned like MLB. So like MLB just partnered last year, I think, with Women's Fast Pitch, right? Do you think that'll help growth in your guys' sport whatsoever? And like I'm a huge advocate of like women's sports. So like if you look at like the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, like those guys legitimately grew that brand, and now you're seeing the return this year with the WNBA. Like Oklahoma, I'm not a huge OU fan. I think Patty's a great coach, but I'm not a huge fan of OU.
He just says that because he doesn't want to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah,
but everyone's a fan of Oklahoma.
I'm just not a fan.
I respect it.
I'm just not a fan of the fact that like the Yankees win because they have the money to go win. You know, like they don't win because they're the best team. They're just the best franchise.
Same thing.
Yeah. So like OU has grown, in my opinion, the last 3-4 years, women's softball to the point that it is currently. And I think like ESPN viewership is huge right now. Like ESPN is getting more views on softball than it does on baseball. So like
this year was way more viewership than the college or the men's.
So like now with MLB backing with their pocketbook women's fast pitch softball, do you think like in the next 3-4 years, the girls that are graduating high school, you know, they're freshmen now, but by the time that they're a senior, do you think that they now have a road to a sustained future within the game of softball, you know?
I really want to say I hope so, and I hope that I'm like the one that's, you know, in those pioneer days of starting it and like creating that path. It's definitely nowhere close to where it's going to be, and hopefully like be the major league women's fast pitch, right? Like that would be amazing. I will say, so our owner of the Texas Smoke is Brandon Phillips, played with the Reds. And he's really, really working to try to create something like that and get the involvement of the MLB with how like the WNBA and the NBA are together. So I know he's really working hard for us female athletes to have that ability, not only just to play and continue their career, but to continue to do it where we're compensated what we should be compensated to be able to make a living off of it. So I really do hope so. I think for that to happen at the end of the day, there can't be 3 different softball leagues. There has to be one. And that's the unfortunate reality of it right now is on a personal level, I will say my opinion on it is that everyone is worried about their own money in terms of who owns leagues and stuff, which is really sad for people like myself who want it to be a major league vibe and for it to not be us athletes the first priority. And not even that, how many people you think would watch it if it was a style setup and had the amount of athletes that it does as the MLB?
Right.
Everyone would go, right? Like everyone would be excited to do that, but because it's so divided, it's like, wait, there's this league, oh, there's professional softball? I get that question all the time. Oh, I didn't know there was pro softball. Like,
well, yeah,
it's sad because
it's no different than like the USA, the U-Trip, the Triple Crown, the PGF, the Top. Like everybody has their own sanction. They're just trying to get their piece of the pie. So.
Yeah, which is so sad because at the end of the day, like you're never going to be satisfied ever.
No.
The only time we will all be satisfied is when you see the incline of this on not only the compensation and what the athletes are receiving as female athletes who put nothing but their time, energy, passion into this. You're not, as someone who doesn't even play and that's what they're worried about, it's really sad to me to see. But yeah, I really hope that it does change and I will play and continue to do my best to help, set that path for the girls that not only I coach, but for the generations that are going to follow that because, I've been playing since I was 4, right? Like I've spent my entire life to be able, like imagine if none of this was a thing, I wouldn't have this platform, right? So think about those opportunities that not only come from just the satisfaction of playing and continuing your career, but everything else that comes along with it that I think really the biggest sport to have done that is basketball probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I do think it's like, I was a pro baseball guy my entire life, played from the time I was like 5 through high school, had my opportunities and stuff like that, but I remember when Sam and I first started talking, like, softball was stupid. I didn't want to go out there and do anything with softball. And she's like, well, hey, man, you were a catcher, right? And I was like, well, duh.
Yeah.
She's like, well, catch me. And I remember the first time she said curve, baseball curve, high and in, low and out. Curve in softball just stays flat and it moves at the last second. So I got, like, smacked right in the face. But, like, from that point on, softball, like, it truly intrigued me. Like I got to know the mechanics, the ins and outs behind the game. And then you started to kind of interact with the athletes a little bit before we started coaching. And the one thing that I noticed is not only is softball a better game, in my opinion, which used to pain me to say,
Careful, don't say
but it also has like women athletes are 10 times more competitive than any guy I think I've ever played with or watched. Like for whatever reason, women go out there and they play with a chip on their shoulder and they have a point to prove every time that they step foot on a field. Whereas guys, we just feel entitled. We're like, oh yeah, man, like I'm on the team. I'm going to go out there, play the game. Like it's just a completely different animal. So like for those who do watch our podcast or pay attention to our TikTok, like if you haven't, I full-heartedly advise you guys to go out there and watch a professional softball game because you're going to see the exact thing that I just said, like the passion, the grit, the tenacity, the athleticism. Like it is a much better game than what we all grew up on. So I'm a big backer.
Yeah, it's a fast game.
Yeah, and I think that's what people love, and I think that
the speed of it.
Like these women, they've gotten so much stronger. Like the way that that women work in the weight room now is absolutely insane, and it's so cool. And seeing like home runs, like it's unheard of to have a game where at least like one home run isn't hit. You know what I mean? And like last week, I was looking at just in high school on one of our girls' Game Changers. There was like 7 home runs, just from one team. in one 7-inning game, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's insane.
Well, and it's also
And-
insane too to think like you went from having a 200 to 230 batting average that was like the normal to like now the evolution of the game, like especially in softball, like you're seeing a lot of 450s, 500s.
Yeah.
We were
Like,
watching Class
halfway
A state-
through.
We were watching Class A state softball last night.
Almost
Yeah.
They say,
538.
four,
Yeah.
yeah, there was like
538.
4 of them
Yeah.
over 500.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Insane.
It goes to show like how much time, effort, and energy actually goes into the athlete's training. So
Well, and I think going back on just like growing professional softball specifically, I think in order to grow it, a lot of the women that are in the league need to kind of do what you're doing where they build that presence, because I think you probably bring a lot of people to the game because they're like, man, she's so fun to watch on TikTok. I want to go watch her play professionally. And that's, I think if a lot of the women in the league do more content creation like that and get to know people or just like the youth, that's going to bring a whole bunch more people to go watch professional
Yeah,
softball.
100%.
Well, and I know at one of the
Yeah,
tournaments, was that, what tournament was that at last year where they gave us the tickets to go to a professional game?
oh, that was
We had a game whenever it was occurring, but
Yeah, Triple Crown.
yeah.
in
And I thought
Kansas.
that was really cool. I was like,
That's
oh.
actually not a bad idea.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that is
too.
cool.
Because like when we went to Kansas City last year, we found a baseball game to go to as
Yeah.
a team. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
That's
So,
what a lot of teams want to go do that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Just learn more about the game.
Yeah, I thought it was cool this summer. I had a handful of people, like girls and parents too, being like, "We watch your TikToks, we watch your Instagrams. Like, they're so helpful to us. Like, keep being that role model and sharing just like all those aspects, because it's so cool to see someone do that. And also you're getting the word out there for pro softball, and it's just so like it was like a really crazy just like moment for me. We were in Lubbock, Texas, of all places. Like, who's in Lubbock, right? Like, it's really just so random place. But we were in the PF Changs. Wasn't wearing anything softball. I was with my teammates, and this dad and his daughter. His daughter was like super shy. She was like in the back. So this dad came up. He was like, "Hey, are you on a Bruni?" Like, I was like, all my friends were like, "There's no way you just got recognized in a PF Chang."
That's awesome.
And I was like, wow, okay, that was like that moment where you're like, okay, wait, this is actually really crazy. This is so cool. And then I like had him bring his daughter over and just gave her, some words of encouragement or whatever. But yeah, I think it's always a reminder to me of like, okay, like I'm not just, posting for nothing. Like I really am having an impact on people maybe my age, but also these younger athletes that really enjoy my softball content or, get inspired. I'm so inspired by like you posting, your workants and what you're eating. And like, it inspires me to be better. And it's just really cool to hear that, because I never thought I'd have that impact. I used to be and this is for anyone who is interested in starting their personal brand. I don't know if you felt this too, but I used to be so scared to post. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like thinking so deep into like, oh my God, like what are people going to think? And at the end of the day, who cares? As long as you're being, respectful of your own values and morals and everything, like if they're going to consume your content and hate on it, good for you. Like, you're just helping my views and honestly, whatever, because
Yep.
the only person that you should really care about of whose opinion is your mom, you, your family, and God, in my opinion. So
Yep.
Yeah,
I remember when we were
I thought
in
that was a really cool moment.
when we were in COVID, that was when kind of social media, like TikTok really was
yeah,
big.
blew up.
And we had nothing to do. So I was like nonstop. I was like, we're making videos. And we started off with like the basic stuff. And then one night I was like, John, I'm just going to post a softball video because like, why not? He's like, Sam, don't do that.
So dumb.
He was like, that is so dumb. No one's going to like it. And I was like,
And
whatever.
now look, this is your full time, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, to an extent, right? And I posted a video of me just, like, it was like a 5-second clip of me pitching. It's on one of my pinned videos. And the very next day, it already had like 1,000 comments. MLB commented on it. John was like, "Oh, that's so lame. Whatever." He was like so jealous about it.
I'm a hater.
And now I'm like using him. I'm like, get in here and pretend to hate me.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. So, funny story is
Dude, I love that content that you guys do.
It's so like
it's so like entertaining.
I feel like people get mad about it, but it really is so real to like
It's hilarious.
we really exaggerate it, but like so many of the things that I've had him say in here, my dad has really said to me, like not the really bad stuff, but like we've had our moments that are so similar to the moments that we actually video in here.
It's relatable. That's
It
why
is.
it blows up, because it is relatable.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
people wouldn't care if it was like, okay, that's like literally so big, it's never happened in my life. The reason that you're getting so much following on it is because people actually relate to it. People want to see real on social
Right.
media, and you make it funny and make it entertaining, but at the end of the day, it's relatable. It's real. People laugh at it because they're like, yeah, my dad did that to me last week.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like if you can't actually say like, yeah, man, I'm guilty of doing this at some point in time, like your kid's probably not playing competitive, you know, like you're playing rec somewhere and yeah, but like the competitive sports world.
Is through the roof these days.
Oh, it's insane.
Well,
Insane.
the funny thing I was gonna say was I still remember I've known John and Sammy for a very long time now, and my daughter's been best friends with his daughter for the last forever, and seriously, and I remember us going to a tournament, and I don't know if Izzy was subbing on our team or if we were just at the same tournament, but like 30 people walked up to John and Sam for photos, and Chloe was like, what are those people doing with Izzy's dad? And I was like, oh, it's because of the TikTok. And she's like, it's just Izzy's dad.
It is crazy though, like it is crazy though, like I know, like for me, and maybe it may not come off the right way, or maybe I won't say it the right way, but like when we go out to a softball tournament, like A, I'm there to win games. B, my top priority is always my team. But like C, in the back of my mind, I am thinking to myself like, hey, you know, like something doesn't go your way, there is probably a girl out there that watches your stuff, that, you know, pays attention to Sam's TikTok, and the way that you represent yourself in this situation is going to determine how she represents herself in the next 3-4 weeks or sometime down the line, you know. So I do full-heartedly like appreciate that role, because the sense of self-accountability that has came with it is pretty astronomical, along with the opportunities even to sit here and do this. So
I'm sure you feel the same way, like when you're playing a sport, like in the back of your mind, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, how I react to this strikeout or me popping out. Like, a lot of kids are watching that because they really like you and you inspire them. And so you think extra about
yeah, you just have to hold yourself to a higher standard that you typically wouldn't have done before, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think on the aspect of dealing with failure in the game, I learned that very early on. I was never someone, I mean, I think I never threw anything. I was never like that. I've had maybe like a really tough putting my helmet into my, you know, cubby hole. But like, I think coming from the University of South Florida, like that was a very high standard that we were all held to. So, but it is true now. You have way more eyes on you being a pro athlete, being someone with a social platform, even, you know, what I post and stuff like that. Like, I really am trying to be a good role model in every aspect of my life. And so, you know, I know you guys feel that, that way too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I did want to ask, going way back to slapping, we're actually transitioning a slapper right now, and she
I just want you to know, they said it wasn't a good idea. I said, we're doing it. I said, it's happening.
I didn't say anything.
John,
he did with his eyes. He did with his eyes. He said a lot with his eyes.
So the thing that I find her doing in practices, in lessons, because she does lessons with Sammy, is looking at her teammates after she's up to bat or after she takes a couple of cuts, and I guess,
or looking at you.
Well, yeah, but she's not like.
She would like every time what he's saying is she like swings and she'll miss, or maybe it's not the best hit, and she immediately goes like, who saw that?
Yeah, she definitely is. She's wearing it right now.
How old is she?
13, just turned 13, yep.
Okay. It's a good age.
So we're literally 2 weeks in.
Yeah, and she's actually doing really, really well. So I guess more or less, what would be your advice or some words of motivation for her or any girl that's just now switching from right to left?
It's gonna feel weird. Like, imagine starting brushing your, like, even now, I'll start to brush my teeth with my left hand just to stimulate my brain cells sometimes. And I'm serious. And I'm like, yeah, this feels so weird, but it reminds me of like, okay, yeah, when I first started hitting on the left side, it was so weird, but you have to commit. If you don't 100% commit, you're never gonna get better.
Yep.
So I would say the biggest thing, advice one, who cares if you get out? Who cares if you look stupid? Because in the next year, the amount of growth that you're going to make because you're putting your all into it, you're not giving a crap about what anyone thinks about you. Your coaches are obviously supporting you and aren't going, because I've had girls that are like, well, my coach doesn't want me to do it, so they never get actual game time experience. You're obviously around the best people that are giving you all of this uplifting, opportunities to become a successful slapper and really be a triple threat. I promise that in a couple months, you're not going to be able to stand on the right side and feel comfortable, which is a good sign because it means your body's getting accustomed. You just need to, in those first couple of months, I would say, honestly, if she can get in the cages every day, and it doesn't have to be for an hour, it could be 25 reps a day, and just literally stand in her crossover and use her bottom hand, she'll be way better off. Like, that's what I would do. Is I had 2 lessons a week, 2-hour lessons a week. And then what I would do is every single day off the tee in my garage, 25 reps in my crossover, because that's the position you're hitting the ball from. Just feeling comfortable using my bottom hand, boom, 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 boom. That's all you need to do. Because the more that you do it, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and don't even add the footwork. Like, literally, like I tell this,
just start in the crossover.
Have to add the footwork. Yeah, it's all progressions. Like, being able to do anything and change it in your brain, you got to cut everything out. You got to start from 0, and then you got to go from a progression. So it's just like working out. Like, we don't know how to do things until we continue to work it out. It's working out not only our actual muscles, but our physical brain muscle. So the more that you do something in the crossover position, yeah, you're training that physical muscle, but then you're also training your brain to be like, okay, once I get into my crossover, that's what I'm supposed to be feeling.
Right.
You do that 25 reps a day over for a month. What's 25 times 30? I don't even know. But that's how many reps you're going to get for your brain as well.
900.
And that's 1 month. That's 30 days. That's all. And 25 reps, solid quality reps, maybe takes me 10 minutes.
900.
Yeah, literally.
It'd be like 8
They're
seconds.
still doing the math.
We're still over here doing the math.
Yeah.
Don't trick us.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I always tell them. If you have 10 minutes to scroll on TikTok, you have 10 minutes to get a tea in
Yes.
and do 25 reps.
Oh my gosh, the amount of times
that
that
about being a successful slapper, a successful hitter, whatever you're trying to be, like, that's up to the athlete itself. You have me telling you to do it, you have your coaches telling you to do it, but ultimately, the only person that's going to make you do it is you.
I call it so I coined the term stupid shit. So like, when you go home, like, nobody wants to pick up a tennis ball, and like, I'm a catcher, I do catching instruction. So like, I throw a ball against a wall and I practice receiving it in, or my frames and stuff like that, right? But like, nobody wants to do that, especially in the world of TikTok, where you can just sit down on your phone and watch everybody else do shit. So like, go home, do stupid shit. Spend 5 minutes a day doing a wall drill, and think about the fact that, by the time that you step foot in the dirt come March, well, now you have thousands upon thousands of game-like reps that you've already seen, you've visualized, you've been there. Now you don't have to worry about the mental aspect of thinking about making a play. You're just going to react to it and do it. So, I mean, stupid shit goes a long ways.
Yeah, and what you said on visualization is so huge too. Within what they call a quality rep, I think it's not just sitting there and boom, it's sitting there. Because whenever I take my reps, like, even when I show my girls, I'm like, I don't just grab the bat and go. I grab the bat, I lock in, and I take a second to hit it, because what I'm doing is actually visualizing me doing this in a game or walking through it, and that goes such a long way. I remember in college, I wanted to be such a power hitter. I hit 3 home runs in college, okay? But like, I wanted to, because a triple threat, I didn't just want to slap it. I wanted to be able to stand in and hit it away, which I ended up doing. But I would go to bed nights before games, like we're playing Alabama or Florida the next day, and I'm like, okay, bottom of the 7, 7, 7, A, B is up. I'm hitting a home run here, right? Like, I'm visualizing it. Did it ever happen against Florida, Alabama? No, but like, the fact of visualizing it, like, gave me the confidence to go in there and do that. To go in there, I remember the hardest pitcher, I don't know, I think it was because I was a slapper, and facing her rise balls was Kelly Barnhill.
Oh, yeah.
She would always have me roasted, toasted, my junior year came around, like literally she had me down bad. Like I think one was it my freshman year? No, it had to be my sophomore year. I stood in the box and I took three straight strikes without taking the bat off my shoulder. And the next day at practice, like I walk in and Ken's like, Bruni, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And I was like, I'm never doing that ever again. I will never go down not being a hard ass out. That was like the turning point partially of my mental. But the next year, my junior year, we always played Florida opening weekend. And obviously Sunday game, we're playing Kelly Barnhill. And I was like, I'm not hitting the ball this game off of her. Like, I'm going in there. I think I was like 1 for 2. I had like a double. And then I had a piss missile power slap right back at her, and she just like stuck her glove up. But even though I was out, I was like, pat on my freaking back, because the way that, I trained myself to visually not only do that, but like, it's just, I don't even know what we're talking about, but yeah.
No,
visualization is huge.
Okay, cool, yeah.
We're huge advocates. When Sam and I first got our 18U team that we are currently coaching their last season of now, they were all Class C players on paper, with the exception of our catcher. She was a Class B player. But I remember that off season, we spent 4 or 5 months literally at least once a week. We would just talk the mental aspect of the game. Like, there is no difference, in my opinion, between A, B, and C, or D1, D2, NAI. Like, it's who's willing to take a chance on you, And you breathe that confidence into them, and they start to believe it. They start to buy in. You visualize everything that you're going to achieve and accomplish, and then you go out and you do it. So, no, I think the mind is like your biggest strength or your biggest weakness. It's either going to push you forward or it's going to hold you back.
It's like 90% of the game.
It is.
Truly.
Speaking
once you get to that level too, like.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, it's like once you of course, like you gotta train the physical, like you're an athlete, it's a sports game, but at the end of the day, like I never really understood. They're like, oh, the game's like 90% mental. I'm like, what do you mean? I gotta see ball, hit ball, and swing, right? Like I gotta catch it, I gotta dive, I gotta throw, but at the end of the day, like your eyes tell your brain what to do.
Yeah.
So if your brain's not good, it's not going to communicate with your hands to be able to complete the task.
Yep.
And once I got that, I was like, dang, all it takes is that confidence. Me going up to the plate with a bad mental, because we've all done it, we all still do it. It's not a straight line all the time, right? Versus me going up to the plate with I'm getting a hit, I'm going to be a tough out. Completely different athlete, completely different outcomes. Whether I'm out or safe, it's all about that approach, right? I can tell you 20 different things between my approach when my mental's good and my approach when my mental's bad, which this could be a whole nother podcast. But
Speaking on like the visualization aspect of it, I learned, I think I would have been a junior or senior in high school, and I was a point guard in basketball, and I always got stuck in traps. Like they'd run a 1-3-1 on me, and I'd always go to the side. And my dad always did a bunch of research and always found just some crazy fucking shit, and found some research on how like visualization is huge. And after I would come home from school, he knew that the trap was like I just couldn't get through it. I struggled with it so bad, but I was a good ball handler. So he would make me sit down and visualize a 1-3-1. He'd set a timer for 5 minutes. I'd close my eyes and literally sit in the corner like a little kid and visualize for about 5 minutes every single day, breaking a 1-3-1 trap. And he would literally tell me like I have to see myself passing the ball, like rotating it, hitting the middle, or just cutting, like breaking before they trap me, like cutting through, but like visualize it in all different scenarios. And no joke, I never had an issue with the trap again. Like just because I was able to visually like see myself get through it, when it became real in a game, I was like, this is too easy. This is too easy to beat now, because I was able to visually see anything come at me and learn how to beat it in my head.
Well, it's dumb though, but I mean, like we've all been there, especially like our generation or people around our age, like growing up, we didn't have social media and all that fun stuff. So like, I know for me, like I'd be in the backyard and I'd count down 3, 2, 1, and I'd take the shot. Like we've all put ourselves in those situations before mentally. and the amount of preparation that actually comes from doing that into real life success is astronomical. And I think a lot of kids now, like, they think you're stupid when you say, hey, go home, close your eyes for 5 minutes and imagine yourself hitting the ball in the outside corner of the plate to right field.
Right.
Like, imagine waiting on that pitch and driving it to the right side instead of casting and striking out, you know, like it just, there's so many different key areas to focus on outside of just the technical application of the skill. And I think like that, the mindset part of it is probably one of the biggest ones, especially within this sport. So
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
but
Well, and softball is such a game of just like pure failure to an extent.
Well, you're gonna
Like if you don't know how to
always
fail,
yeah.
then you will never succeed in softball.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, like you said, 300 is a great batting average. You're failing 7 out of 10 times, you know?
Well, yeah, and we're trying to explain that right
I can
now.
even say, what did you say?
I was trying to say, we literally just had that conversation with our 14s,
Yeah.
like explaining, like, hey, a 300, you hit 3 out of 10 times, you're doing actually really well.
you
They're
should be
like, you
getting
know
paid millions.
They're like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yeah,
Don't
they-
lie to me. Tell me the
I
truth.
know.
Well, I bat like a 900 in slow pitch, so
You don't even bat a 900.
I'm just saying. It's
You
like,
should watch these two play.
it's
slow
like
pitch. It's
850 at
awesome
least.
because Sammy is way more competitive than 98% of the men that play in this
That is
league.
not true.
It is, and
I love that.
and they won't accept it. So then they start trying to like talk crap to her like she is one of the guys, and then it's just one of those things where you can see the frustration starting to like pile on her, and she's like, "I'm gonna lose it, Corey. I'm gonna lose it."
Stickers.
That's so funny. I would play slow pitch with my dad, and I'm like diving in the outfield. Like, what the heck is this?
You're like, who is this tryhard? Yeah.
but that goes back to being a competitor, though.
Everything.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, if you literally can't tell, I can't. All or nothing with me. I'm no halfway.
Yeah.
So.
we have that talk with our 14s too. Don't half-ass it, whole-ass it.
Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
whole ass it all the time.
Whole acid. I love
Yeah,
that.
John and Sammy are learning that 14s is a little different than 18s.
It is.
Yeah.
It's much
Uh,
It's a learning curve for
I
us.
Yeah.
feel like. I also feel like sometimes the younger players, I think they are more intense than the 18s.
Well, in different ways though. So like, and we have this conversation.
They have more feelings.
Well, hold on. We have this conversation all the time because so
Yeah.
we actually started our 18s as a 16U team, and when we jumped from 16U to 18U, we were like, holy crap! Like 16U is
Way tougher,
extremely
yeah.
competitive, and now like 18U seems a little bit more laid back, but they're still like fierce competitors. 14s are like really frustrated competitors. Like they want to be good so bad, but they're just the game, they don't know how to slow the game down yet. So everything they do is
Yeah,
very
that's
like
true.
quick and rushed. And so getting them to like slow the game down is very difficult. Like they want to be the best,
smooth
they
is
want to be
pretty.
competitive, but they don't know how to slow it down. They're just rushed. So getting them to understand like, hey, you have time is difficult right now. And then once they get that though, it's
Yeah.
going to be insane.
Yeah. Like we have a
Yeah.
middle infielder that
Two of them. Two of
well,
Two of them.
Emma's a lot where she's like we were at practice and she makes a perfect read on the ball, and instead of just like sitting there and letting it drop in her glove, she like jumps up into it.
Here, Emma.
Yeah.
They just get excited because they're like, oh yes, like I am. And you can, but that's when you know, like they really love the game and they're really like truly just want to be the very
Yes.
best they can be because they're giving you 150%.
Yeah.
And really you're like, hey, give me 110. You know, give me 110.
Yeah,
That's
Smooth and
smooth.
it's nice when the passion's there. I think it's like that's what I think I gravitate more. It's like, especially when you're coaching and teaching them,
Yes.
that those younger 14, 12s, they're like this, like glued to you like a sponge. Sometimes you get the 18s that are like, like what's for dinner, like, you know. So I think
Yes.
Well,
there's definitely,
I think the 16s. I think the 16s are like overly aggressive. Like they're still out there competing for a collegiate role, you know. Whereas like most of the 18U
Yeah.
girls, if you're playing your last year of 18s, like odds are you're probably playing in college, you know.
Yeah, or
So
you have
it's
an
a little bit
idea of
more
you're like,
relaxed.
here's where I'm going or this is what I'm doing.
So
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then 14s, I think they're just trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, no, I guess some exciting things. There's going to be, I don't know if you guys saw that glove drop with Franklin that I had.
The batting gloves. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yes. So those are, done, sold out, everything, but there will be some ones coming in the future. So if everyone's like interested in getting another one, it's not going to be the same gloves. It's going to be a different design, but yeah,
That's
just keep a
awesome.
lookout for those. Yeah. And then my username on everything, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube is anabruni.softball. That's ANA, not 2 N's.
Yep.
So yeah, that's really it. But
Yeah,
that'd be
that's
awesome
perfect.
to get some more friends out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So we just wanted to say thank you, and it was awesome having you on.
Because it didn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
hear anything that you guys just said.
No,
Wow.
you're good. We were just saying thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here, and like we're very new to the podcast world, so we'll eventually get better at it. But hopefully, we can have you back on at some point.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that, or like definitely meet up in person, do some collab stuff. I think that'd be so fun.
Yeah, had some technical difficulties there at the end, but we do want to thank Anna for her time, her insight, and just all the experience that she has within the game and sharing that knowledge with us. I feel like it was a really, really great conversation. And one of those looks into the mindset or the lifestyle of a professional athlete that not a lot of people really get the insights to. So again, we thank you for your time. We're going to drop some links and everything like that down below on the description of the podcast. So if any of you guys are interested in any of her gear or any of the companies that she's sponsored or affiliated with, feel free to support her in her journey as well. So
And her content too.
yeah,
So,
content as well.
I was a huge follower of it, and it's good stuff. So
Yeah,
give her
Absolutely.
a follow.
but again, next time I think we do have more guests that we will be getting on the screen. But until next time, Between the Lines.